Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a pretty large 10-game NBA slate for you that starts at 7 o'clock. Before I get started, could you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Also, make sure to check out the YouTube membership section. As you can see, I actually dropped the write-ups there in that section, so make sure to check that out. Uh, that said, let's get into the slate here. Hopefully everybody did well yesterday. Yesterday was probably I think that's probably the first loss I had in a week in NBA, so yeah, it can't go perfect all the time, but it was a pretty weird slate, especially being a smaller one. So I look for a nice bounce back today. Obviously, there's a lot of injuries on this slate, so there's going to be a lot of information throughout the day that we're going to have to find out, but let's get into that injury report here. So for the Hawks, Young is questionable. For the Pistons, Duran is out. For the 76ers, Embiid is questionable and Oubre is out. For the Heat, Hero is out. For the Hornets, Rozier is out. For the Magic, Carter Jr., Fultz are both out, and then Harris is questionable. For the Nets, Simmons and Cam Thomas are out. For the Spurs, Keldon Johnson, Sochan, and Trey Jones are all questionable. For the Mavs, Kleber is out. For the Pelicans, Jones is questionable and Nance and McCollum are out. For the Trailblazers, Brogdon and Simmons and Scoot Henderson, and then Robert Williams are all out. For the Jazz, Kessler is out. For the Clippers, Plumlee is out. For the Nuggets, Murray is out. For the Warriors, Curry is questionable. For the Timberwolves, or sorry, not Timberwolves. For the Grizzlies, Tillman is questionable, and Rose, Adams, Morant, and Clark are out. And for the Lakers, Vanderbilt and Vincent are out, and LeBron is questionable, and Anthony Davis is probable. So we have a lot to look at from that perspective. I'm just going to break this down player to player here. So I've ordered these guys in price. I'm just going to go through them that way. We're going to start with Shea Alexander for Oklahoma City. Now, he's played fantastic most of the season. He's got good upside here in a plus matchup against Spurs, especially if the Spurs have the guys missing. He's been absolutely dominating for Oklahoma City, and he's really the only guy on the team that's just doing a lot. So he's got a lot of upside here. Um, Great opportunity for another big game here. His price is a little bit high, but he's definitely capable of a solid outing here. Then we're going to look at Bam Adebayo. For Miami. Now he's really stepped it up since Hero has been out. His price has come up some, but he's definitely in a great spot here and has played very well in with Hero out in the last 4 games, being over 50 fantasy points in all 4. He's also had 4 straight double doubles, and he even had a triple double against the Lakers. I don't expect a triple double here, but I do think he's going to get a few assists, and he's been getting enough blocks and steals to really boost his upside as well. He definitely has some good potential in this matchup. Then we're going to look at Maxey for the Philly 76ers. Now, if Embiid were to miss, then he would probably jump into being a must play by a large stretch. But right now, he's still a great play as he's playing extremely well. He actually dropped 50 points in the Indiana game last game. I don't expect him to do that again, but I do think he'll get in the high 20s, if not low 30s, in this one. And hopefully, whether Embiid plays or not, he's going to have a lot of upside in this matchup as Indiana really doesn't play a lot of defense. Carl Towns is in play for Minnesota at this as well at $8,100. His price is still pretty good. He really hadn't made much adjustment, and he's been playing pretty good in these last few games, especially in the game against the Warriors last game. He had 51 fantasy points. He's kind of a GPP play because he does have a lower floor, but he does carry risk too in a fast-paced game like this. But he's been really solid for most of the season, with a couple exceptions against tougher teams. But I look for him to have a good game here, and he can definitely play in a fast-paced game like this, which is a little bit harder for Gobert. Then we'll look at Jeremy Grant for Portland. Now, with all the injuries, he's going to have some potential here. That said, his price is higher as a result of the injuries and stuff, but he's been playing well the last few games, and he seems like he's becoming one of the focal points of the offense. He's also playing an absolutely metric ton of minutes. This is going to be a little bit of a tougher matchup, but he's definitely in play on the slate. But he's not a must play because of the price rise. But he's still an interesting option. Looking at DeAndre Ayton, now he does really has a low floor, which is definitely annoying. Even though his minutes have been high, he's sometimes not getting double doubles, which is really, which would really help him. And he does tend to get some fouls. So this is actually a tougher matchup because Utah does have some big guys that they can throw at him. That said, he's had some big games, and he definitely carries good potential here with all the guys out for Portland, so he's definitely in play. Then we're going to look at Aaron Gordon for Denver. Now, this is an interesting play as he's been extremely good since Murray has gone down. He's really taking over as a dominant scoring force here. and he's also gotten a bunch of double doubles as well, which he didn't have any double doubles prior to Murray being hurt. So I look for him to continue to play like this, and if he can continue this and score, then this price point will start to rise. That said, he hasn't really started to rise yet, so while he's doing that, then he's definitely in play. Though this is a very risky matchup against the Clippers, as they are a good defensive team with all their superstars on the team, but he's definitely playing well enough to be considered. Then we're going to look at Mays for Portland. Now, his price has absolutely shot up like crazy because he's had two 39 fantasy point games in a row. Um, I think he's gonna have some value today, but he's definitely. I mean, he's definitely gonna be in play today, but he's definitely a risk because of the price point popping up so much, and we're really just relying on these two games that he played really well in. That said, he should get all the minutes he can handle. So I mean, the matchup isn't ideal, but it's still okay if he can get the assists like he's done the last two games, then he definitely has some potential to potentially pay off here. Then we're going to get into some mid-level plays here, and Tobias Harris, who I really like a lot today. He's been very consistent all season long, and with Oubre out, he's actually going to get a little bit of a boost uh, of usage. And if Embiid ends up getting rolled out, then he's going to probably be the best play on the slate by a factor, probably a pretty good factor. His price is surprisingly actually a little bit lower than it's been the last few games, and he's played very well game to game. So I really like his potential today. Price is just too good to ignore, and he's definitely a core play for me. Probably my favorite play on the slate at this point, at least, until we get some more injury news. Then we're going to look at Vassell here for the Spurs. Now, he's a very interesting play as well, especially if some of these guys get ruled out for the Spurs, whether it be Keldon Johnson or otherwise. He's played inconsistent throughout the season, but his minutes has been all over the place, and he's also had some injury situations. So if he's at full strength and he's full complement of minutes, and a couple guys are ruled out, then he's definitely somebody that I would roster with the potential in that game, especially a higher scoring game on the slate. Then we're going to look at Claxton for Brooklyn. Now he's finally back from injury. He played the last game against Washington and played pretty well and had a double-double. I look for a potential similar type of game here, and he definitely has that good upside, especially if he can get some blocks, which is definitely going to boost his potential. With that said, though, I do want him to get a double-double to pay off here, so you do want to make sure he's going to play a full complement of minutes, but it's a pretty good matchup for him, and so I think he's definitely capable of doing that. Then we're going to look at Jalen Suggs for Orlando. Suggs has played pretty solid in situations so far this season. His price has come up as a result, though, but with the injury situation there, he's going to get more minutes and get some usage here. He's just a guy, though, that the only concern here is that he's mostly, he hasn't been getting a lot of assists and rebounds with all the injuries. But he is capable of that, as you can see in the past games. He's had some good rebounding games. With that said, he is capable of a good game here, and so he's definitely somebody I would consider on the slate, especially with the injuries there in Orlando. Then we'll look at Isaiah Stewart for Detroit. Now, with Duren out in the few games that he's been out, he's played very well, and that is reflective on his price point being pretty high. He wasn't very consistent early on in the season when the team had a full complement of minutes, complement of players, but with Bagley starting to aside him, he's going to have more opportunity to have good potential, and he's had double doubles in the two games that he's done well in without Duren. So I like his potential here, and he's definitely a cheap enough option that gives you some potential. Then we'll look at Capella. Obviously, center is kind of a popular play on this slate. It looks like they're just good value across the board. But Capella's played pretty solid this season so far. He's really only had one bad game, and he's still getting, he's still in a timeshare with Okongwu, but both of those guys are actually in play because they're both playing very well, and they're both kind of splitting the minutes. But he's had the opportunity for double doubles, but he's not been getting the points. If you think he can get it in this game, which he is definitely capable against Detroit, so I think he's going to have some potential to have the double-double today, which would almost make him a lock. The only concern there is the points, honestly. He's been getting the rebounds most days. Then we're going to look at Royce O'Neal for Brooklyn. Now, he looks like a really good spot today, especially with the injuries to the Nets. He's going to have some more usage as a result, and he's kind of streaky from that perspective because his usage kind of comes and goes. But if he has the potential, if he can get in double figures and points, then he usually gets enough of the other types of stats to kind of help him pay off at these lower price points. And he's priced really fairly today, even though it is a slightly tougher matchup than normal for him. Then we're going to look at Hakamura. Now, this is contingent on LeBron missing, as in the couple games that he's played, the last three, with either LeBron or Davis missing, he's been very solid, and so he does need to have one of those guys out to really make a play, but because his usage skyrockets as a result. But he's very capable of big games in those situations, so he's definitely somebody to look at later in the day. Looking at Conley from Minnesota, now he's got a tough matchup against Golden State, but he's played pretty well this season, and in a faster paced game like this, he's actually going to have some more upside as he's going to have some potential. He also scored 27 fantasy points in the last game against Golden State. I'm not sure that he'll get as many assists, but I think he might try to go for a little bit more scoring in this one. So I think he's got some potential here. And even though he didn't get a steal in that game, he could definitely get a couple in this one. So then we're going to look at Okongwu for Atlanta. He's the contrarian option to Capella. He plays about the same amount of minutes as Capella, and he's been playing very well so far this season. Though he's had a not great game against Miami, but everybody has tough games against Miami. So I think he's going to bounce back here and have a really solid outing. And then the last but not least, Jalen Smith for Indiana. Now, his usage is going to be inconsistent, and his minutes are also all over the place. In fact, the other day he looked like a great play, and then he got cut right after the slate locked, or his team locked. So that's super annoying. But he is in play because he is scoring a lot of fantasy points in small minute situations. So he's definitely in play, but he's a high risk, high reward type of situation there. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.